talk about investing in here in Paris-Saclay, and most specifically about the health sector. But Ms. Tardieu, I want to start with a more general approach. As the CEO of Business France Invest, you meet foreign investors every day who either want to come here or whom you're trying to convince to actually come here. What are their feedbacks regarding France's attractiveness? How hype are we at the moment?
Thank you very much for the invitation. Business France is talking indeed with 5,000 companies a year, approximately. We have people all around the world. And I must say that it is easier now to speak about France because France has become even more attractive in the recent years. We have been #1 in Europe for welcoming foreign investors. Yeah, that's EY saying, not me. So that's quite an objective source of information. The feeling we have is not only we have more investment, but we also have investment of quality coming to France. And we are really happy to see that foreign investments are coming more and more in industrial sectors, coming to help us to re-industrialize and helping with the sovereignty that we want to have in Europe in many sectors, first of all. Then also we have more investments in innovation. We have around 10% of foreign investments a year that are in the field of innovation. And that is for us a great asset because they come and they can help us to develop our industry in the future of what we need in ecological transition or even the new sectors, as today we're going to discuss health. So we have really an environment that is even better now to welcome investors.
Let's focus about health, as you just said. Have you seen in the past year an interest from foreign companies to invest in this field specifically? What would you say are France's key assets when it comes to the health sector?
We have seen this interest rising, first of all, due to COVID. That's it, right? That's during the COVID crisis, we saw an impact and a great evolution in the number of projects that came to France, especially because we needed to have more investment to develop production and to be independent in the value chain in France. So we saw this interest. Another reason why we have a rise in the number of projects in the health sector is that we had a plan, Innovation Santé 2030, that clearly gave an axis where we want to go on innovation and on health in France. And what do investors want? What they want is clearly visibility and the path where we want to go. So there is, with those reforms on business environment and the plan that Health Innovation 2030 that was issued, the clear objectives on clinical trials, on medical devices. So we had some information we could give to the investors, and thanks to this information with the investors we met, we succeeded in having more projects coming to France.
So that's a major shift in the years that you described. Madame Comte-Arassus, GE Healthcare is a historic and key player of Paris-Saclay health ecosystem. How would you describe its development in the last decade, as we've just seen? An increase in proportion, an increase in demands, an increase in research? What has happened in the last 10 years?
So first, I would like to reinforce that we are very proud, in fact, to be part of this ecosystem. As you said, it's clearly historic due to a company that you bought so long times ago, CGR. But it's also a place where we have a lot of school. And in the discussion that we had, I think what is very important is human. And of course, all the students that we can have, it's extremely key because they are living here, in fact, in Paris-Santé campus. So we have more chance to recruit them, to keep them, in fact, and attrition is absolutely key. And I could say that Paris-Santé campus is the place to be for startup, for research, so for us.
Is this why you chose BUC and Paris-Saclay to set up your R&D activity? It was this idea of concentrated talent and to be in the place to be?
In fact, we bought a long time ago CGR, so which was a French company. And it was already a place where research and development was really key. So we need to remember that we have 2,800 people in France, and it's very, very important because we really have from research and development, we have productions, we have also EMEA headquarters, so all the human, the capacity that we put in fact to innovate is absolutely key for us. So we had, I would say, a very nice ground, and we want to keep it and we continue to increase it.
You are a historic partner in this health hub. I want to turn now to one of the latest companies to join the Paris-Saclay Urban Campus, that's Servier. Your brand new R&D center just opened in February here at Paris-Saclay. Did the same reason lead you to that choice, the idea that you had concentrated talent and this was the place to be? You know, what does Paris-Saclay bring to a pharmaceutical company that is already so well established?
We took the decision to be in Saclay, let's say 5 to 6 years ago, with the intention to be a part of the big cluster, and also to take the opportunity to have a complete different ways of working, being totally open to the external world, being open to the cluster, and also being open internally to new ways of working, students, and clearly having a kind of innovation mindset that is totally different. So you just mentioned we joined the cluster, let's say 3 months ago, with different waves of move of collaborators, and we are now 1,200 Servier collaborators in our R&D center. This is a big investment for us. It's nearly 400 million euros. And you are all welcome to visit us, and you will see the overall idea is to have a campus in the big cluster, meaning a campus where you have a lot of technology, expertise, but also that is able to collaborate with the external world and the proximity also. Proximity is a factor of rapidity, agility, and success, so this is extremely important for us.
We're going to talk about openness and collaborating with the different actors, but I want to keep this theme of international comparison going. And I'm turning to you now, Monsieur Garel. You're the general manager of Paris-Saclay Cancer Cluster. Could you just remind us of what the project is and what are its objectives, please?
Yes, the Paris-Saclay Cancer Cluster is a fantastic initiative from the government, the French government. The idea was to found 4 clusters in France to strengthen research and industry in healthcare. And the idea is to build a cluster just next to Gustave Roussy in oncology. Why building this cluster? The important figure that between 70 to 80% of new molecules that are approved by the FDA each year come from startups. And even if the basic research in France is very good, we are not at the same level in creation of startup. So the idea is to create a place, a campus, just next to Gustave Roussy, which is a key element in innovation. It's the first hospital in oncology in Europe, 3rd in the world. They have a lot of clinical study, 300 each year. And the idea is to make a private and public campus just next to Gustave Roussy, based in oncology, to make research with academics. There will be 200,000 meter squares of public laboratories and 100,000 meter squares of private office and labs are under construction just for this cluster. And the Paris-Saclay Cancer Cluster is a not-profit organization that just help to raise the best innovative actors in France and also in Europe, so that they come and make the best campus as we can just in Villejuif, next to Gustave Roussy.
You just said that France is really good at how could we say, basic research or actually advanced research, but not so great in startups. How is this Paris-Saclay cancer cluster perceived internationally then, and is it open actually to international collaborations?
Completely. For example, we invest something like 25 million euro in data to help hospitals to structure data and to provide good figures to industrial and project owner in academic or in startups. This investment we do with we start with 4 hospitals in France, but we are in discussion with 6 other hospitals in Europe. We are also in discussion with companies in Europe, so as they come and invest and make innovation just in Villejuif, just in this cluster next to this fantastic hospital.
And how does it work here on site? How do you conduct collaborative projects with both academic and industrial players that are already here on the plateau?
The Paris-Saclay Cancer Cluster was founded by 5 founders. 2 of our founders are here. It's Institut Polytechnique and also Université Paris-Saclay. So there are key elements in the Paris-Saclay Cancer Cluster. The cluster is just next to an hospital. We think it's very important. The samples come from the hospitals. When you have to find targets, you have to have these samples, and then you come back to hospital to make your clinical trials. So, but we are just in the middle of Paris and university and the Saclay ecosystem. So we want to have a strong collaboration with Université Paris-Saclay, Institut Polytechnique, and like it was said, the key element is the human, and the human resource for companies is as important as money, even in healthcare. So if you don't have the best people, if you don't have the good team to win the game, it's dead. So we have to be connected with this ecosystem, and we want, for example, to have strong collaboration with Servier, which also help startup to innovate in Saclay, and we want to split the game and to have a big collaboration with them.
As you were saying, Ms. Comte-Arassus, the human factor is key, but collaborating in an open and sort of free way is also a very important aspect. What are the advantages for you of being part of Paris-Saclay, of being part of this community? Could you give us very concrete examples of what happened here on the plateau for GE Healthcare?
So I think we have still a lot to do, but to come back on your point, collaboration is absolutely key. First, we need to know us, because to collaborate, of course, we need trust. So this is one of the reasons that I am here. It's also to connect with this ecosystem. Furthermore, partnership is a key word, but we cannot build a partnership, I would say, like this. So it's also need times. So there is a lot of startup, in fact, in this ecosystem. We began now more than 18 months to work with some startup, even outside this ecosystem. So we would like to reinforce the connection that we have, of course, on our specificities. So, for example, I know that you were working on theranostic and we had no chance to connect, but I think we need to be sure that we know all the projects that we can work with and continue what we have done, because we have some very important programs like Edison, where we have startups from all the world. So we need to be sure that in the future we will have some startups from Paris Santé Campus on Edison. We have connection with Coalition, so French healthcare. So of course we need also to be sure that we can bring some partnership with companies that are part of this ecosystem.
Monsieur Thurieau, you were saying how open you had to be, how that changed the way you work. Tell us more about that. How do you collaborate with the academic and the industrial players here now that you're settled in Paris-Saclay?
In fact, this is very simple. This is absolutely mandatory. When you think about developing a new therapeutic solution, you think about disciplines that are quite common, chemistry, biology. But in fact, to develop an efficient and targeted therapeutic solution, new therapeutic, you need more than 70 expertise. And more fundamental science like physics, mathematics are absolutely mandatory to give their input in the way we are selecting the molecule and understanding the disease. When you see the presence of expertise in the Saclay cluster, there is a huge amount of world experts in mathematics, in physics, in structural biology, and we need to work with them, absolutely. Even if internally we have some good experts. So a good collaboration is something to set up between good experts in-house and world-famous expert externally. So this is the way we are working.
That's for experts, but what about startups in itself? Paris-Saclay is home to 600 deep tech startups. How do you work with this community more precisely, you being a multinational company and them being not as big or sometimes having difficulties to connect? How does that work?
This is an essential part of the program that we have developed, is to have an incubator, part of our building, that is dedicated to host startups in partnership with a world-famous company that is used to manage incubator, that Biolabs from Boston. And these startups, one is already in place, are here to develop their program. They are not captive. They can work with us or not. They can have access to our expertise or not. But they are participated to the overall ecosystem, and that's very important. This is also our way to contribute to the overall ecosystem. And part of our center is also open to public, so it will be very easy in September when everything will be fixed to come and to have a coffee in our cafeteria and to exchange with Servier researchers, start-uppers, or students from all these big schools that are present there.
Pretty nice. How about you, Ms. Comte-Arassus? What is GE Healthcare open innovation strategy? It's a word that we've kept hearing again and again. How open do you have to be? How are you collaborating with startups? Is it completely wide open? Go grab a coffee, talk to our experts, maybe set up a startup?
So, as we are not, I would say, on the campus, but near the campus, it's quite different. I have a good example. For example, for now 7 months, we are working on eco-circularity. And Central, in fact, had some very good students. So we were exchanges on the project that we have, the challenge that we have, and follow this discussion. We took, for example, 2 students from Central that are working on our site, and we are exchanging on different projects on how, of course, we can continue to accelerate eco-circularity in our product, because this is really a big challenge in equipment. So it's really to focus, I will say, on projects that we have, and also, as you said, on capacities that we can find on this ecosystem, and really to be sure that we will meet us and we can grow together.
So we've just heard that success, if I get it right, comes from a concentration of scientific expertise, private R&D centers, and a thrilling community of startups. Ms. Tardieu, that means that Paris-Saclay has everything to convince a foreign company to set up an R&D activity here. We have concentration of talents, money, companies, and students.
Totally. What has been said, if I try to summarize, is that size matters. Because in fact, we need to have a critical size to convince worldwide investors to come. So you need to build this ecosystem, and having foreign companies and French companies working together. Of course, we don't need only French companies, we need really multinational companies working together. And we also need a brand. in today's world, you need to be able to attract on the brand and to show the world who you are, and you need to promote yourself. So that's what Business France is doing with Saclay. In all opportunity we have on different events or with foreign investors, we promote the brand. What was said, yes, money, talent pool, but data also, that is really interesting in health today. You can be strong if you can gather data. So the bigger you are, the more data you can gather. So that is, for us, something that is really critical. And what we need to do is also to see how we can promote not only health of the different sectors, but as it was said, eco-circularity, for example. We need also to see how the green and the transition that France is promoting is going through all the different sectors. And that is the strength of France today, is to think how we can get greener in all the different aspects of the economies. And this cluster, of course, is part of this transformation.
So these are all the reasons to come, but they come from somebody whose job is to convince companies to actually come. So I'll turn to you, Mr. Thurieau. You just made the choice, as you said, it was done 5 or 6 years ago, but we're settling in now. What advice would you give to health companies that are thinking of joining Paris-Saclay?
This is certainly one of the most important questions. I think is to be in the early days is extremely important, because you learn, you attract, you being more and more optimal. You are one of the, of the artisan, of the pioneer of the story. And when you see what has happened in other clusters, it has always been developed the same way, with strong entrepreneur, university working together, and to attract talent from everywhere. We have centers in Boston, in Denmark, in Hungary, and when we are promoting our new R&D center, we are also promoting it worldwide. And when you are working in Boston, to be attracted and to see all the potential that you can have at Saclay is of utmost importance. It's very important.
So even by hearing you out, some companies might still have a few doubts. And my last question would then be to you, Ms. Tardieu. What advice would you like to give to foreign companies in the health sector who is hesitating? They're still maybe yes, maybe no, they don't know. Maybe they fear the red tape, maybe they fear the French flair, maybe they think Saclay is out of reach for Paris Center. What would you say to these companies who are just on the verge of making a decision?
Well, we tell them to come and see us, because of course Business France is here to help and to explain what is France doing really to transform its business environment. We cannot deny that there might be some difficulties on market access or size of the market, so we don't deny the difficulties, but clearly we can point out the opportunities that are linked to all these innovations that we have here or in other parts of France, of course, and also this way that we are proposing, in fact, innovation and a visibility towards the way we think the health sector is going to go. And we see with the cluster and the new clusters, bio-cluster that have been announced by the president last week, I think that we are clearly building something new, and clearly it's time to come. As we mentioned, Europe has to be part of the solution of all the different challenges that we have worldwide. And in Europe, one country is really focusing on innovation, it is France. So that's why we believe that most companies will choose France in the next future.
Well, if there are any of you who are founding companies, who already have companies that were hesitating, now I think these doubts are over. Thank you very much to all of you for telling us what are the key to the Paris-Saclay success. We will now very soon hear about actually one of these cooperations that make Paris-Saclay such a unique place, but that will take place in 5 minutes. So I thank you all very much for coming, and I will see the rest of the public in 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.